It's a very, very small group of people, many of them clueless.
Hi everybody, it's Gene Simmons, and you're not. This is Kiss My Collectibles podcast, but you know that.
Click T when you want a t-shirt. Click T, accessories too. Click T, any way you want it now at clicktshop.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Kiss My Collectibles. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jason Herndon, and with me, as always, is Joe Lollich and Nicholas Buckland. What's up, guys?
Hey, what's going on?
Very good.
Don't look enthused.
Sort of all right to see you both, as always.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah.
I'll allow it.
Mediocre.
Yes.
So on the episode today, guys, we are going to do another skip or play. We've had a bunch of people ask when we were going to do another one. That seems to be a popular little thing that we do. So this week we're going to cover Revenge, skip or play. So I'll go play.
Skip. Oh, well, I will wait.
Oh, we'll wait. Yeah. So, but yeah, we I don't know if we've done a non-makeup record in a while. I don't know if we have.
No, I think the last one was maybe Asylum.
I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
So, but
Hot in the Shade was our first, and I didn't prepare at all, and I forgot about half the record because that's the album I never really listened to. So, like ever since Hot in the Shade, am I going? How does that one go again? I now do a little. I at least play it a couple of days beforehand. Yeah, so
He plays three chords and goes, nah, I don't like it. I remember.
Yeah. I think
although Joe has been helping me with my turntable because Revenge was skipping. Otherwise, I'd be saying, I don't like how they just keep repeating that riff for like 5 minutes. It's like, it's your record, dumbass.
it's the remix, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Every time I think of you, think of you, think of you, think of you, think of you.
I just wanna fa.
That's great. So
it's really hammering this home.
Get on with it, Paul.
Yeah. So skip or play on Revenge. We'll get to that coming up shortly. But before then, shall we do new confessions?
Yep.
All right.
Confession.
Well, what's new? Am I talking about new stuff?
Yeah.
Talk about new stuff. Well, I guess we probably need to. There's been a lot of vinyl activity in the collecting community lately, and I just wanted to take just a minute of this segment to talk about a few of the new Ace Frehley releases. So, one that's upcoming, and then one that just came out. So depending on when you see this episode, which I'm not sure what it'll be, we're recording right now in September, early September. So the first Record Store Day drop has just passed, and one of the things that come out was from E1, they reissued Ace Frehley Trouble Walking on a double 45 RPM set, and so it's not a gatefold. There's two records in here that go inside the jacket, and you've got these cool little sleeves, and they're like really thick. They're not paper sleeves; they're thick cardboard sleeves. But on the back of one, you get a lot of cool photos, and then you get the credits and lyrics on the other. But what's really cool about this release, I think, I haven't heard anybody say much about it, but the pressing, I think, looks pretty cool. It's kind of a E1 released the pressing of the record, a video of the pressing of the record at the pressing plant. And so what they've started doing is they're kind of hand pressing these styles of records, where they're taking two pucks, different color pucks, and putting them on top of each other and smashing them in together, and you get some kind of effect like this that every one of them is different. I've seen some of them where it's almost all orange, and some of them where it's, so let's see what my second one looks like.
I think they're calling those color in color, right?
Color in color, I think that's right. So see, you get a bigger orange on this one, and so
they had to borrow some orange from Universal as we know. They had
to figure out where to get rid of all that extra.
Yeah, we've ordered so much. I don't know what.
Give it to E1.
They use some on Nicholas's shirt. It's outrageous.
Yeah, it got to be yellow.
And I didn't think this actually just popped something up in my head talking about the pressing plant, because people have asked this question in the groups in Wax, and I've also been PM'd about it and asked about it, and I thought I would address it. On the backs of these records from E1, probably can't see it, but that says Made in Canada. And so I've been asked, well, where's the U.S. pressing? Well, this is the U.S. pressing. There is no Canadian pressing. It's a U.S. pressing. It comes from the U.S. label. The issue is E1, their main pressing plant is in Canada. So when they do an order to get records pressed, they press it in Canada and ship it back to the United States. So it's not the location of the pressing plant that determines where the record is from, what the pressing version of it is. It's where the label is located that it's released from. So this is the only version of Trouble Walking is a U.S. release. Yes, it's pressed in Canada, but this is the U.S. pressing. So, I know that can be a little confusing, but almost everything that E1 presses is pressed in Canada, since they used to use Rainbow, which is now in California, which is now closed. So their backup pressing plant was in Canada, and that's what they're using now for most of their pressing. So hopefully that clears that up a little bit. But speaking of that color in color, to move on to the next releases, again, I don't know when this is going to come out, so the record may already be released. Ace has Origins Volume 2 coming up on September, is it 18th? Is that right?
Sounds about right. Yes, that would be.
Yeah, that's a Friday. So
2 weeks from now,
September 18th, Origins Volume 2 comes out. And there are, in fine E1 fashion, multiple pressings.
I can't keep up. Every time I see it, there seems to be a different one.
Are we up to 8?
Right. And so it's at some point after it's out, and I should have all, if not most, of the pressings. But sometimes after it's out, maybe we'll do a special episode, something talking about each one of them. But just to briefly cover, I think we're up to like 7 or 8 variations right now.
I think the Target one made 8 maybe, or 9 even. Yeah, there's been a lot.
Yeah, so as the recording of this, the Target exclusive was announced today, and it is a black and silver color in color pressing similar to this. So you'll get it in black and silver, and I'm sure we'll throw that up on the screen right now.
Yeah.
And but there's like the standard edition is going to be a blue and white kind of swirl, and maybe Joe is over there looking them up. But there were some direct-to-consumer pieces, a couple of them that are already sold out and out of print. Just there's a ton of different colors.
Have you ordered them all?
I have ordered all of the ones that were direct-to-consumer from the United States and Europe, meaning the ones that only E1's websites were selling. And that I thought may sell out and be gone. I have not ordered the blue and white. I think we'll probably get copies of that from the label because it's the standard edition. But But I did order Target too. What do you got there, Joe? You got some colors for us?
I don't, actually. I was just
Yeah.
looking to see if I could find a quick place that would tell us everything that's come out, but I can't do it in quick fashion. Maybe you'll have more. It looks like the blue and white swirl is the standard.
That is the standard, correct? And so you've got, so we got the black and gold. Let's see.
We can sort of flash them up here on screen
Sure.
because we don't waste time. But yeah, we'll just show every version as of this podcast taping that exists right now in one big shot, so you can sort of compare all the different colors.
And I think there's one now that has the first one has come out that has a different cover as well, that has Ace shooting sparks out of it, the guitar and things like that too.
I think the Target exclusive has a exclusive cover as well, and it's got a 79 photo of Ace, and then there's a different on the marquee on Madison Square Garden. There's a different photo on the back. There's a few different variations.
Yeah, because they did that with the first Origins, didn't they?
Absolutely.
They
changed the guitars
with the black and the white framing, and they changed the guitars and stuff.
Yeah, that's also correct. The Target, I believe, has a black frame around it as opposed to the. One of them has a black frame. One of them, I can't remember what it is. One of them has a blue.
There's like a blue. The blue is the standard and black is the Target exclusive. The FYE exclusive was black.
Correct.
For Origins 1.
Origins 1, that's correct.
Yeah.
So anyway, hopefully we would have flashed all that up. There's a lot of different options to buy the record, including the CD version. So if you haven't bought it, I'm sure it's out by the time you're seeing this. If you haven't bought it, go buy a version of it. Support them. Support Ace and support E1. They're good people over there. King Gullick's a good friend. So what else for New Confessions?
There's not too much merch at the moment, but I did see something that maybe you guys could help with. There was something I saw it came up on a September 2020 release, was Best of the Solos, and somebody said that was a CD though, wasn't it?
Correct. That's you've got. There are 4 albums coming out in Japan. Actually, I think as of the recording of this, a couple of them have already shipped. I know that Killers has already shipped, and people are starting to see it. But it's 4 albums. It's the Best of the Solos. It's Killers, Double Platinum, and Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits. I actually just got an email saying that Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits had been delayed until November. But what's special about these things is they're mini LP high-res CDs, and a lot of this jargon I don't know a ton about, but it's MQA by UHQ CD reissues. So they're supposed to be like ultra high quality.
Right, okay.
And what's really cool about them is they have been remastered for this series in 2020 from the original masters.
Yeah, it says
Oh
here
wow!
that
So that's the first time since 2014 that they've
The first
jumped
time
back
since
into those.
2014. Correct.
Mm.
What were you going to say, Joe?
there was just a little blurb here online that I saw. Master Quality Authenticated is what MQA stands for.
Correct.
So you wonder if that's, if you have a master CD or a master file that they're creating the CDs from, that if all these CDs replicate, I don't know if there's kind of like a lossy kind of version as it goes throughout the generations as you're, creating CDs or whatever, but maybe this one is, it can be authenticated as master quality. So
Right.
I don't know. I'm guessing, but
So here's a line about it that I'm reading over here. It says, in addition to using the original master source tapes, it says the DSD master is available in 352.8 kilohertz by 24-bit high resolution.
Nerd alert!
Perfect for MQA or enabled audio players. So I think the situation here is if you do not have an MQA enabled player, you're probably just going to be listening to standard resolution audio, would be my guess. I'm not 100% sure.
Oh, so the music industry is trying another format.
Japan,
Yeah,
you know how they do it over there. So
There's always something new with them. Yeah.
right, and then it does say that these are not digitally distributed at this point in time. So, but again, it's double platinum, best of solos, killers, and smashes. And what's cool about them also, as far as packaging, they're like mini LPs, and they've reproduced a lot of the cool inserts that came from Japan. Like I believe Killers has the sticker that you would have gotten in the vinyl, So a lot of that stuff is reproduced. So they're actually really cool releases. I mean, who knows if anybody will ever actually get to listen to them with this MQA-enabled format. But the packaging itself, which is half of what KISS fans buy this stuff for, is supposed to be really cool. So I've got all 4 on order. I ordered them all. I haven't gotten mine yet. I'm hearing that if you ordered from CD Japan and you ordered all 4, even though Killers is available to ship now, they're not shipping them until they have all 4 of them ready. So I might not get mine until December. So
I'm so surprised you got all those, Jason.
why? Yeah, why? Oh,
Not
I
at all
got it.
surprised. By that I mean not at all surprised.
Since the sarcasm. If it would have been just like a jewel case and it would just been in the CD, I probably wouldn't have bought them. But because it has those inserts reproduced, I'm a sucker for that stuff.
Cool. And
So,
your MQA player is right behind it.
No, it's on its way.
You gotta order all 4 plus a $9,000 player.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
Gotta brush
it'll
off your...
stay in the box in the floor. I'll never listen to it.
That's right.
What were those ones in the 70s? The quadraphonic sound, the Q mastered with Q sound and all that kind of stuff, which is, those kind of weird formats that don't last.
Yeah, you see, I mean, it was sort
players.
of a glorified attempt at stereo into surround, where they were breaking it into 4 channels, and they, they would do gimmick records. I think there was one, maybe it was like a military record or like a marching band record where they had cannons going off, but each cannon would go off in a different speaker and things like. It was a lot like we were just talking about it the other day. A lot like the 3D movies when those started to get big, and somebody it's like even the KISS video where they were pointing the guitar, the headstocks at the so pretty gimmicky, but
there were even quadraphonic 8 tracks in the 70s that you had to have a quadraphonic 8-track player, so
Now I remember even buying it was one by the Super Furry Animals called Phantom Power, a great album they had. That was in 5.1 surround sound, and I think I may have listened to it once. I actually got A Night at the Opera on the 5. Because some of those 5.1 mixes were cool, but
really cool.
As time goes on, there's not everyone has those 5.1 surround systems. I used to have one, but I no longer do. But
I still do. Yeah.
Well, there's always the constant battle though too, purists versus let's remix Fleetwood Mac Rumors into 5.1 and get all this discrete sound, but that's not at all the soundstage that was originally intended for the record. So it very much changes the character of the sonics of that record. Now you may hear things that you've never heard before, but that's also because it's maybe the original mixer and producer didn't want those things heard that way, the engineer, and so
I'm of the opinion that as long as it doesn't replace the original recording, that the original recording is still available, then I'm okay with tinkering around and trying to see what kind of different sounds you can get. If you get a box set of some sort that has the standard release and then another disc in 5.1, I'm okay with that. That's interesting to listen to, because I
think you're right. It's like after the fact, so somebody else is interpreting what this should sound like. Right. I think there were some artists, like I mentioned, Super Furry Animals, where they did the album and the 5.1 was actually done by the band at the time. So it is their vision of the 5.1. But yes, if you grab Rumors, you can bet the original producer and the band probably wouldn't even be aware it's out.
Correct. All right, that's New Confessions. Shall we move on to What's in the Box?
I'm gonna open it.
Oh, what's in the box? What's in the fucking box?
What is in the box?
What is in your box, guys?
Who
wants to go first?
Who goes?
Who's on first?
Me?
Oh,
All right.
You've been called out.
I have been called out. So I have 2 things this week that I'll show. So on the Creatures of the Night episode, I showed one of these before, but I'm going to show it again. So a U.S. promo gold stamp copy of Creatures of the Night, right? So this is my second copy, and everybody's probably wondering, and by everybody I mean nobody. Everyone's probably wondering, why does Joe have 2 copies of this? So this one, not only did it come with, your your stock record.
I would have been the only one wondering, and I already know, so I don't care.
Right. So we'll the regular lyric sleeve, right?
Yeah.
This one, lo and behold, came with the press kit.
Woohoo!
Whoa.
Look at that, baby.
Great find.
Yeah, and it's in just such nice condition. I don't know if the lighting's going to hold up there, but
I would have gone to a music journalist or something like
That's
that.
exactly right.
Yeah,
exactly
Wow.
right. So this one must have been tucked in for somebody in the industry somehow. There's nothing. So this, as I understand it, going back and watching our own press kit video, there was only maybe a couple glossies. I think John 5 showed a couple of different glossies that might have been thrown in at different times.
Just depends on different times.
Right. Yeah. And then this one only has the sort of the bio or the actual press release about the record.
Right.
So, but anyway, great. I thought this was a cool find. To have
that's
found
excellent.
this inside here. So.
I bid $5.
Okay, Nicholas, what do you have anything?
I've got it.
$5.50. No, I just want the record because I don't have promo creatures.
You don't have a promo creatures? I'll have to work something out then.
I'll bid
Okay.
$5.
And I'm going to ask dumb vinyl question number 432. How do they, on the gold stamp things, is that run through the presses with the gold stamp? Or they got a little machine that when it comes out, they just go on those copies? Like, how do they put the gold stamp on those records?
I'm sure that was done in an
Is
assembly
it an
line.
office thing? Or, no, actually off the presses?
I don't know for sure.
See, now my assumption would be that you wouldn't do that in line on a
you
press
think?
because that would be a pretty specialized, unless they had a specialized.
And they would be the same every time too. So and they're not.
Right.
You're right.
I'm assuming they probably went, hey, we need 500 of these, and some schlub somewhere had to be in the back.
Right.
Yeah, some
You're
sort of
probably
machine doing it where they're like ka-ching, 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 putting it through.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a complete guess.
Yeah. See, so that wasn't a dumb question, Nicholas. That was a
Yeah.
good question.
I don't know if anybody knows. Yeah, comment down below if anybody has verification of how that actually happened with the specific gold stamp on these things. That'd be great. So that's number one. Number two.
Yeah, keep me in mind if you want to get rid of that.
I do. I mean, I have two of them, and I don't need two. So
Okay.
yeah, for sure.
Let's talk.
We will talk. I don't want any of your junk, though.
I don't blame you. Actually, Nicholas has something displayed behind him that I've been asking him for years, but I know it's going to be expensive.
That's why I put it there.
Okay, Nicholas,
Just,
can I have
just to,
that?
just for the smell of it to just waft. It's like-
Can you give that to Jason so I can get it from him on a trade for? That's great. I love that. So cool.
Incredible.
So I've got here a copy of Unmasked. So these are pretty tough to come by. This is a Mexican version of Unmasked, and this came in multiple colors. I think there was a. Jason, help me remember if you can. There was a yellow base splatter. There was a clear base splatter, a green base splatter, a green, a red, and a yellow. Was there a
Yes.
clear?
I don't think there was a clear, and of course, somebody's probably screaming at the screen right now. I believe there was another base splatter as well. Not
Green,
100%
I thought
sure.
green, clear, and yellow were the only base. In any
Maybe.
event, there's
Any
a
of
number
them.
of them. There's 7 or 8 of them around in that neighborhood. All different color vinyl, and this one happens to be the green.
Oh, beautiful.
So there you go. Original to the time period. So it's not a new release. This is 1980 release in Mexico. So super cool. These are tough to find, and especially to find all 6 or 7 of them. It's a very tough task to find them. They're all hundreds and hundreds of dollars when you do find them. So
No matter the condition.
right, exactly right. And as you can see, this one is a little. It's a little worn, but it's one of those things that I've said 1,000 times before on the show, and I'm sure I'll say it 1,000 times more, that, in any condition, those types of records that are highly sought after and rare, I'll just get them in almost any condition, and then over time try and upgrade if I can. So, yeah.
Also the age too. I always think if you get a slightly beat up 1978 album, but if you got a slightly beat up 2017 album, you probably would go, I don't really want that, because someone just hasn't treated that well. I don't mind the aging on that kind of stuff.
Records?
Yeah, like all your Kiss records.
Like all your Kiss records?
No, the covers are all perfect because they all went into frames. It's the vinyl itself which is stacked like a.
It's the important part.
Yeah, it's the important, the playable part. I thought back to myself sanding walls and just being covered in that kind of white dust, and they were just sitting there, just totally covered in the dust. But it's like a real.
Oh my god! I'll put this back in the jacket.
They play fine, so yeah.
Okay, so cool stuff, Joe.
Thank you.
Who wants to go next? Me or you, Nicholas?
Nicholas.
Oh.
Okay, fine. Go.
You're meant to suggest yourself. You just got to wait till someone else suggests you.
Right.
It's very arrogant. Yeah. I've had a few trade ads come in recently. Some interesting ones that I thought I'd show on screen. This is probably my favourite of the whole lot, and this is what looks like at first a French ad for Destroyer is actually a French ad for Rock and Roll Over, because Rock and Roll Over is listed there. So they've used the thing. And also, which is really weird, and I did share this on the page, and a few people pointed out, I think in French this says coming soon is Alive. So Alive either hadn't been released or they were re-releasing it, or it's the first French. I don't know the story on when the French one came out.
Here's a little bit of backstory on what you're looking at as far as Destroyer on the Vogue label.
Yeah.
All of those French pressings were released with was it an iron-on, Joe?
Yes, it was.
That very iron-on, that design right there, and an iron-on in every one of the records. It's Destroyer in all of those records. So that's kind of like the advertising piece for that whole series of presses.
With the okay.
Correct. Yeah. So
and
all
if
of
you get a translation of that, so French people can tell me what that, or I could just use Google Translate straight after this.
So all of those records that are listed on the bottom of that trade ad would have come with that Destroyer iron-on.
Again, another very difficult thing to find these days with the those records with the Vogue distribution labels with those iron-ons, or what I think they call them, transfers.
Yes.
Tough to find a whole set of those. And odd that they had Destroyer in all of them, but there you have it.
Oh, you're saying the iron-on is always Destroyer.
The iron-on. It basically is an advertisement for the iron-on.
What's that?
Getting a phone call.
Oh,
okay.
I'll call him back.
Only if Peter Chris is actually on the call.
That's our buddy John 5 calling in. Probably want to know something about vinyl. So.
Okay.
All right. So what else you got, Nicholas?
He's calling to ask why he's being left out.
Yes. Maybe he could just do what's in the box, because that would be always interesting,
Yeah.
Now, the other thing is a few little variants, which I love variants on stuff. So everyone's obviously seen that because there's a poster of that one. And I really like, I found this one is from Rolling Stone, which is the black and white version. And it's seemingly the same. But if you look at the album covers, these are the album covers as is. But then you've got the lovely... I love how they used to do this back in the day, because there was a lot of black and white press. They had totally different album covers, so you could see them when they're reproduced smaller. Yeah. Like you can see Kiss Alive is really big there, and big Kiss logo there. And
Hotter Than Hell is missing all of the stuff. Yeah,
yeah, they've kind of just simplified them down for, just to be able to be reproduced, which I quite liked. And then I accidentally got a variant, so I'll show you this. This is quite cool. Well, I think it's quite cool, but it's kind of in the nerdy sort of vinyl label Terre Haute pressing kind of cool variant. So only a minor pressing. So I bought a whole bunch of clippings only for one little thing, which was this little strip for Dress to Kill, right? But in that, I thought this came for free, which is that one, which we've all seen. So cool. It's that. So there's the color version, which is this. And then there is the black and white version, which is this. And I thought, I got a double, but I didn't get a double because I noticed that on the one I had, you got a little Kiss logo there, but on the one that came from a different newspaper, there is no Kiss logo. It's just printed. So it was nice. I love when I find. That was just like a throw. Oh, I'll sell that after I get it. But I thought, that's different. So I got another little variant, and I like little variants like that.
Kiss my trade ads.
Exactly.
Yes, that's a very the logo is above or below the spindle hole kind of thing.
Yes, exactly. Yes, getting deep, but yeah, I like it anyway. What do you got, Jason?
I got a couple of things. I actually wanted to pull up Alan Belisha's great book because I want to make sure that I'm talking about these correctly. But I got this in the group, Kiss My Collectibles. Rob Duran or Doran or Duran, I don't know. Duran, Rob.
Duran.
Rob Duran was selling this.
Deliberately mispronounce everyone who writes.
We should, yeah. And I actually listened to a podcast, and they make fun of. They introduce their Patreons at the beginning of episode, and they mispronounce all of their names on purpose. But so I got this little Japanese simulated autograph kind of card here from Victor Industries. So these things were, as Alan put it, it's a facsimile autograph card from the Japanese '78 tour. It's a commemorative present, and they were given out at Budokan when you purchased LPs. And then he goes on, which I was aware of, but he also goes on and says it was also later used as a prize for competitions like the one in the double platinum ad promised to 100 local fans. So what is also interesting about it that a lot of people don't realize is there are two variations of this. I only have one. There's one with, Japanese. This is, the Japanese information. And I believe like the Victor logo information is in English on the other one. But both of them are very, very difficult to find. But I think that one is even harder to find. So I got that from Rob. And
those are not inexpensive, by the way. Those, just like everything else, have exploded in value.
Yes, they're all of those little Japanese extra things, like Nicholas just realized on his little sticker set that he was selling off. A lot of people want those things. So
yeah,
like when I got this was tough too. This was to commemorate the tour as well. So. Yeah.
I wonder if that frame and that Japanese thing is like one's from the Budokan and one is the radio one. I wonder if that is what separates the two. Obviously they wouldn't press two versions at the same time. But
that's a good question.
To see which is which.
I don't know. So Alan, if you're watching this,
right in.
And was it that it was at Budokan only, or it was to commemorate them playing Budokan? They had that extra present at record stores.
No, these were given away at Budokan when you purchased the LP at the shows.
At the shows. Huh.
At the show.
I always thought that they were... I must be misinformed. I thought that they were around that time that they were being handed out as sort of promotional gifts.
I don't think that's the case, and I think the proof in the pudding about that is you see these far less than you see the other promotional materials that were... Not this one. That's a bad one to show. But the other promotional things that you see those more when they were given out in stores because they were all over the country.
Yeah.
These were only at Budokan. So, and they were selling confirmed. They were definitely selling records at
because
Budokan.
What else would they sell? Because if you look at the Aussie tour, it was full of merch, but Japan actually doesn't have. We talked about this. Japan doesn't actually have any merchandise from the 70s, like any real.
Right.
Lots of, this was from Japan only. They've got albums and all the stuff from Victor.
Yeah, magazines and LPs, and that's kind of it.
But there aren't really any Japanese tour T-shirts. There aren't any.
Right.
So, maybe the merch stand was just purely vinyl or, cassette, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's an interesting discussion in and of itself. So, the other thing I got is... Actually have gotten a bunch of stuff since we last recorded, but I'm going to save some of them. But this one is particularly special because it's incredibly rare and pretty brittle, and you can't find it in hardly any good condition. This has been folded, and I think that every version I've ever seen has been folded. But to go along with all of this double platinum stuff that I have gotten with the U.S. promo poster and the arrow and all of that stuff, I was able to secure this poster sticker promo from Australia. There is the Astor logo.
World's biggest sticker.
And this is indeed a sticker.
Wow.
Back. It is indeed, and it has been folded, unfortunately. I'll get this in a frame. But they are. What are you laughing about?
Eventually is such a relative word for you.
My U.S. promo poster wouldn't have framed it the
Yeah.
moment I got it. But yes, I will get this. I just got this in a couple of days ago. But it's got all this beautiful sheen. It's unfortunate that it has the folds, but like I said, I've probably only seen 3 of these in my life, and all of them
You
were folded.
you won't really notice once that's framed.
Yeah.
In the next 20 years or so, when you get around
It'll
to doing
flatten
it,
right out.
it'll flatten right out.
Gravity will take its course, and there you
That's
have it.
right.
So, Jason, I wonder if do you think that those were all folded?
I don't know. I just know that I've never seen one that wasn't folded, and I don't know if that's because that's how. And they're not machine folded. I mean, look at it.
Yeah, just
So I think.
Not by a good machine, anyway.
Aussie machines went
Yeah,
up the scratch.
that's how
back
they.
in the 70s.
That's how they do it down under.
Yeah, fuck it. That's close enough.
I think that's likely just how they transported them around. I don't know, or handed them out. I couldn't tell you. I saw John sent me a picture of his when I told him that I'd gotten that, and he texted me a photo of his, and it had folds in it too. So, I don't know, what the situation was with that. So, so that's what I've gotten. Woohoo! Yeah, everybody just stopped talking.
Pretty excellent. No.
Good. What's in the box?
Yeah, good. Really good. What's in the box? So, all right. Skip or play. Revenge.
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 What do we know about the record, Jason?
It came out in May of 1992. I think it was originally supposed to come out in a different date. I think it got bumped a whole bunch of times.
Did it?
But it ended up coming out in May. I remember seeing them on the tour in November in Nashville in front row. I still have one of the middle strippers' Deja Vu shirt that she ripped off and threw out in the crowd. That was a great tour. My buddy, who's passed on now, Kenny Johnson, got jumped up on the stage towards the end of the show and gave high fives to all the guys, and we watched him go from the left side to the right side, and as soon as he got to the right side,
Yeah, that was it.
Andre grabbed him and slammed him to the ground. We saw him afterwards. He had a black eye. He said they took him out back and cussed him out, and it was good times, man. So he wasn't even really a Kiss fan. He was just there with all of us, and just a
fan of mayhem.
A fan, yeah. So, but yeah, so Revenge, first record with Eric Singer.
First record with Eric Singer, second record, or second time on record that Vinnie Vincent saved Kiss, right?
That's right. That's right. So Vinnie comes in and co-writes 3 songs on it, I think. And this is the return of Bob Ezrin as your producer, and you got a pretty, really well recorded sonically, in my opinion, sounding record. Definitely way different than what was going on in the 80s and all the Paul produced records. I was a huge fan of this record. So, what, anybody want to say anything else?
All I want to say is Unholy. What do we think about it?
Who's going first this round?
Oh, so we're just going to the whole. Yeah, okay. Go
Yeah,
song
we'll
by song.
just dive right in. What do you think, Jason? Do it. Why don't you do it?
All right, I'll go first.
Yeah, you go first.
Well, it wasn't the first song I heard off the record because I believe everybody heard God Gave Rock and Roll to You first, which was on the Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey from 91. And I specifically remember mowing the yard and hearing that for the first time, listening to it on my Walkman, or whatever.
Yeah.
But, and thinking, God dang, they sound way different and better than they have. So, but Unholy, I remember seeing the video when it first came out. It was evil. I mean, really the return of the demon, which we hadn't heard maybe since Lick It Up.
The return of heaviness.
The return of really, truly heaviness, and a killer riff. But this record, like all records, but definitely this record, which is in my top 5 favorite Kiss records, is going to be a tough one for me. I love Unholy. I love Gene's vocals in it. I absolutely love the drumming in it. It's a masterful riff. Ripped your face off right from the beginning. Absolutely a play. Horrible live, but a great studio track because Gene can't sing it live. So
Yeah. Nicholas?
Yeah, I mean, this leads into that time where I'd sort of, really just rediscovered the band around about year 11, and this came out at a time, it was my year 12 kind of thing. It obviously had God Gave Rock and Roll to You, and that sort of had woke everyone up that sort of tied themselves in with the whole Bill and Ted's thing. So they were sort of, rather than being that 80s kind of metal band, they'd sort of tied themselves in with a bit of cool. It was a little bit of a sort of a, they've sort of attached themselves to a little bit of pop culture. So that sort of made us take notice. And I think when this came out, Bob Ezrin's production, the way he pulls a lot of tricks out in this album, which we'll talk about, but the way he understands dynamics, quiet to loud to quiet, and just different little sounds, changing the pitch of guitar, sorry, the key of the guitar solo, and then bringing it back down. He's, you can really tell that. I mean, Unholy straight out of the gate is just beautifully produced. That riff is killer. Yeah, I mean, again, Gene's first vocal on a single since I Love It Loud, I think. That's correct? I don't think he did
that's correct. Yes.
Any full lead vocals, and as you said, the Demon's back, the whites in the eyes. Paul gets to. Was watching the video before this. Paul gets to recycle. Let's put the X in sex beat. He does the cross in this one.
Right.
Rotated at 45 degrees for a new move.
Not cool. Cool.
Not cool.
Power Ranger.
Yeah,
worshiper.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the video had a cool. In my mind, thinking back, it's got that very Pantera sound to the guitar sound. But I can't remember actually when Pantera hit big. Was that a few years later? But in my mind, it's that.
No, it was
same...
right then.
Right
then. I think that's when Far Beyond Driven came out and became.
Far Beyond Driven was 94.
94.
Wasn't it?
So this was
Vulgar Display of Power, I believe, was 92. I think. Well, let's see. Good question.
Talk amongst yourself, people.
That's right.
Discography.
No, but anyway,
Kiss My
Power. Vulgar Display of Power is 92.
92.
Okay, so and I think it's that slightly detuned guitars, and the video too has all those kind of tricks at the time where, I don't know, you probably noticed where they would film the video at a half speed, they play the track at a half speed, and you mime at half speed, so when you speed it back up to the proper speed, the hair's flicking, the arms look really, it's got that feel, and they did that a lot during that grunge era.
Yeah, it's got that shutter speed thing happening, that sort of jittery shutter speed effect, almost like a strobe effect that's done, via camera tricks.
Like I think I was showing the kids because they were Shakira fans, and they were her first single, and we watched. We got onto a making of, and you see her doing her, her dance and singing with it, and it's like really super slow when she mimes to it, and then they cut it so she's got the flick of the hair and stuff. So they were doing that same thing with all, Eric Singer's long blonde hair and stuff. So. Yeah, this one is an absolute. I assume Jason's was a play, but yeah.
Did I not say that? Play for sure.
Play? I can't remember, but for me, this is a play.
It's assumed and implied.
Yeah. So how I'm going to title this episode when I post it. How can you put Shakira and Kiss in the same sentence? And Nicholas.
There you go. He does it.
But before you go, Joe.
Yeah.
Talked about the riff in this song. Your poster thing is about to fall behind your chair, by the way, Nicholas. It keeps sliding down. So.
Sliding.
Yeah. But I talk about the masterful riff. Well, this song was written by Gene and Vinnie Vincent and nobody else. I assume Vinnie Vincent wrote that killer riff.
I would think so too.
Surely.
It doesn't sound like a Gene thing.
No,
it sounds
no.
like a Vinnie riff.
Yeah. So kudos to Vinnie.
Mm.
Go Joe.
So this one's interesting to me. I like it. I'll just say play right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
But what I will say about it is going back and listening to this stuff now. It's so all of these songs are so. How do I put it? They're so burned into our psyche. You can't really tell. Has this aged well? Has it not? You just go, that's a Kiss song that I know. There's no way to sort of go, what does this sound like anymore? Having said that, when I kind of went back to this, because I haven't really listened to this in a little while. I know, Jason, you have all these songs on repeat all the time. It kind of, I don't know, it kind of sounded slow and plodding and not as dangerous as I remember it for some reason.
Interesting.
It kind of seemed, and I know it's going to sound blasphemous, because I like the song, so don't take this the wrong way. It kind of seemed a little cheesy in some ways. It seemed like it wasn't, like they were, again, it almost feels like Kiss is going for something that's happening in the popular culture at the time and sort of pantomiming it rather than being who they are. And so I feel like there's some weird moments in the song. I feel like there's some, I know, Nicholas, you were talking about it, some of these quiet and loud parts, and there's a lot of great dynamics. But I also feel in some of these songs, as I was taking another listen to this record, that there's a lot of parts where there's kind of not anything happening. And you're like, gosh, it feels like there should have been something put in there. And I feel like there's parts in Unholy where that's true. But having said all that, that's just sort of my criticism of the song. I dig it. I think it's cool. What I really found interesting, too, going back and listening to this again, is Bruce's guitar sounds like it's on fire, especially on this track. And I cannot believe how far up in the mix it is. And, Bob Ezrin was back in charge because a Gene and Vinnie song was the first single on the record. And Bruce Kulick's guitar seems like it wants to be like on nuclear assault setting.
Yeah.
That would never fly today, ever, in 100 million years. So I think that's the advantage of having an outside producer.
I agree totally.
Yeah,
absolutely. Outside producers are always necessary.
I mean, so. Bruce for the first time sounded like he had a sound. I mean, before that he could play whatever, but he was just like he could have been one of a billion players out there on the scene at that time.
He was one of a billion players. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of a billion shredders out there, and he was fantastic. But all of that stuff, unless you're really, really into the scene or really, truly unique, like maybe a George Lynch or something like that, with a unique kind of tone, a lot of it blends together.
Sure does. Yeah, you have to have a style that stands out.
So
I'm just gonna dive right into the next song because I think the last notes of Unholy into the first notes of Take It Off are some of the best moments in history. The way that next song hits and it's like, oh my God, here's another amazing song. Like the first time you hear this record, you go, geez, they have come out of the gates with guns blazing. And then they hit you with the right and then they hit you with the left with Take It Off. And I just think it's an amazing transition from that explosion at the end of Unholy to that huge explosion in the beginning of Take It Off. I think it's a masterpiece in engineering. And
it's almost going, boom,
and then boom, and then it takes off. It's like you could see it sequenced that way in concert. I think that's part of what our culture is missing so much these days with not listening to records, not listening to track sequences. This thing stops, and then the next one goes. It's like handing a baton from a world-class elite runner to the next world-class elite runner. It's great. So anyway, Jason.
That being said, Take It Off, although lyrically cheesy, is my favorite song on the record, and I just love it. I love it. It's got enough hearkening back to the sleaziness and good times of the 80s, which everybody knows I'm a huge fan of, but it's got a modern sound with a killer riff and killer drums that are not played by Eric Singer. That's Kevin Valentine on drums.
Stay little Valentine's tale.
And which is one of Eric's best friends. And but Take It Off, you know, it's a song about strippers. It was the best part of the show. Why wouldn't it be? You know, and so you know they had the strippers on the stage when you saw them live, and it's just classic Paul Stanley, tongue-in-cheek kind of. You know, it's almost a harkens back to a girls kind of vibe, but not sounding 80s as far as the tone of the song.
What's interesting to me about this song is that it's telling a story in a way, though, too. It's seedy and it's dark and it's grimy, and it's like the perfect strip club song. It's got that whole California Sunset Strip dirtiness about it, which I think is why this song excels for me on this record, where others with some of that same kind of lyrical content don't. And we'll get to that later, but I think I think it's a killer track.
Yeah, it's a killer track. And then what Nicholas was talking about as far as dynamics, the breakdown in this song before the solo comes in is my favorite part of the whole record. I just absolutely love the entire dynamics of Take It Off. A great song. Not a smart song, but just a fun, great song with a great riff. And I just love this song. Absolute play for me.
Gene's bass,
yes,
on it is amazing. He's noodling perfectly in between, and that's part of what I was talking about in some of these other songs. When I was listening to it again, there's some blank spots in there, and you're like, there should be. And I think Gene fills this perfectly in this instance. So I already like it. I'll say play. I thought it was cool. Yeah, another banger off this record for sure.
What do you think, Nicholas?
Look, I really like this, and it's probably got a lot to do with the production, but I almost, this is a bizarre way, because a song like this I would not normally like. You could tell it's Paul's attempt at girls, girls, girls. He wants this song to be played in strip clubs and get residuals from that constant play. But something happened to... I mean, a lot of my friends, we didn't like all that hair metal stuff, but something happened after God Gave Rock and Roll to You came out with the whole Bill and Ted's thing. It was almost like, because that song is ridiculous, God Gave Rock and Roll to You. Like, it is a bit silly, but there was something about it was almost a little bit tongue-in-cheek. So it suddenly made Kiss were a bit older, and all that, my mind is getting dirty, around 11:30, like, it's ridiculous, but it's almost, you go, oh, but it's Paul Stanley. And he is a bit, I'm not saying ridiculous in a bad way, but it's kind of like, this is what Kiss does, this sort of, wordplay, clever wordplay with sort of slightly dumb topics, it's, they're not trying to ape the trying to things, there was something about, if this song was badly produced and on an 80s record, I would have hated it. But something happened in the 90s, and just for that period in 92, there was a bit of a throwback to the 70s as well. They were starting to promote a bit of their old stuff. The Kiss suddenly became cool again. I think Bill and Ted's made them cool again. I'm just talking from my friends and our group.
Sure.
We wouldn't listen to this kind of music, We would listen to Blood Sugar Sex Magic and Nirvana and all that. But Kiss were cool all of a sudden. So a song like this became, it's okay, he can sing lyrics like that. The only lyric I thought was funny was, I wrote this down, was, take it off like you do me. I want to see what's inside because you got nothing to hide. And I was kind of hoping that wasn't a gynecological I think I was hoping it was like an emotional connection. Otherwise, it kind of gets a little bit creepy. #MeToo sort of thing. But other than that, this is a definite play, because as Joe, I didn't actually think about that sequencing, but every time I hear it, it's like instantly, it's like, bam, it's like, this is what Gene's got, bam, here's what Paul's got,
right?
And they're great. So it's a definite play for me every time.
It seems like the dirtier uncle to Is That You somehow. Like it's the grown up, darker version of Is That You for me anyway.
Okay. Like slightly the hands the uncle.
The hands. Exactly. Exactly. Is this
That's
is this the first time in Skipper Play history that we've all agreed on 2 songs in a row?
I think so. Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna
Yeah.
stop
Because
right
generally,
now.
you generally skip the whole record. So.
Yeah.
I did want to mention that's co-written, with Bob Ezrin, but by the great Kane Roberts. And if you don't know who that is, he was the guitar player for Alice Cooper in the mid-ish '80s, and like a big bodybuilder dude playing a little guitar. He's a fantastic player.
Didn't he have that machine gun guitar?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's Kane Roberts. So.
Bandolier of bullets all the time.
That wasn't my because I only really like, as you can see.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I only like the Alice Cooper band era, but yeah, I mean that's
you weren't a fan. You weren't a fan when Kip Winger was the bass player. We lost his head. Okay, so up next, Tough Love. Tough Love. This is the first Bruce Kulick. You want to sing it for us?
No, I'm just trying to remember it in my head.
Oh, okay.
Because there's a couple which are a little bit similar on this album, but yeah.
So Tough Love, it's your first Bruce Kulick co-write with Paul, and I'll have to say that Tough Love is probably my least favorite song on the record, and as everybody knows, I don't ever skip Kiss songs unless it's just 1 or 2 songs, but I have skipped Tough Love many times while listening to Revenge. So this is going to be my obligatory, for sure, skip. The song doesn't do a whole lot for me. Not a big fan of the chorus, and I think that's what turns me off the most from the song. I don't have a whole lot to say about it. I don't think it's a terrible song. I think I would listen to this over plenty of other songs in the catalog. I would listen to Revenge from beginning to end before I would listen to a lot of other songs in the catalog. But yeah, Tough Love is just an okay song. I think it's the worst song on a great record. And if I'm going to skip anything off this album, it's going to be Tough Love.
Yeah, hard skip for me. I think where the last song lyrically is kind of like the guy on the prowl kind of in the dark of night. This is just so overt and ridiculous. That being said, I think the chorus and the bridge are really, really good. So I wish lyrically it would have been different, and I wish the chorus would have been different because I think the chorus is terrible. But I think the rest of the song is kind of cool. Like there's kind of like a driving, like eeriness, or almost like has a little bit of a Middle Eastern melody to it that I think is kind of interesting. But yeah, it just gets killed at the chorus.
Yeah, that chorus is a letdown, man.
Sure is.
That whole tough love.
And I guess that's kind of what I mean. Like that's a perfect example of this space not being filled. It goes tough love. And it's like
it's terrible.
Yeah, you gotta do something else in there, it feels like. And there's a lot of spots on this record, and there's a lot of staccato moments on this record, I feel like, too. And that's one of them. And I wonder if that's one of the things that Bob Ezrin brought to the table. Because I feel like there's a lot of this push and pull, and that, to me, is where, that song loses me, for sure.
I almost thought he did that, because maybe the song was just so dull that at least having those stops, it was probably trying to make this a bit more interesting. My response is I could copy and paste both your answers and said the same. This is a skip for me, probably the worst song on the album. It's not terrible. I from memory, I think when it goes into the guitar solo, Bruce hits that really high, kind of like a harmonic thing that goes. That caught my ear. That was interesting. Rather than going to a million, he sort of holds this one note as he goes into the guitar solo from memory. And this does feel like we're stepping musically anyway a bit closer to Carnival of Souls, which you'll get a very different reaction on every song from me on that one. But this is probably the weak track on the album.
What's interesting is this was chosen over what I think is riff-wise, because the song, as far as I know, was never recorded with lyrics. But if you're into collecting bootlegs and demos and things like that, there is a track that Paul wrote with Snake Sabo from Skid Row called "Do You Want to Touch Me Now," and the audio from that song. I know that sounds serious.
Yeah.
It sounds.
Oh yeah.
But I'm telling you, it is a monster riff. It buries Tough Love.
So it doesn't have vocals on the demo, is what you're saying?
No, there's no vocal. And then it doesn't circulate widely. I only know a couple people that have it, but it is a brutal riff, an absolute brutal riff. It's very, very good.
Can we drop a snippet of the riff in here? No? Oh,
no. Sorry. I can't.
Hoarder.
Yes, that's true. But I
said a snippet. I don't want the whole song.
No, I can't. But I just find it odd that song was passed over for the weak. Clearly, the weaker Tough Love. Clearly, a weaker song. So anyway,
Nicholas, when you said "Hoarder," that reminds me of British Parliament. Have you ever watched those clips of British Parliament where they're all yelling and screaming at each other and the guy's wailing away with the gavel? Order, order, and they.
We should institute some of that shit in Congress over here.
Right.
Just let them beat the shit out of each other.
That's right, and nobody's paying any attention to him. Order, order.
All right, so that.
Yeah, I like when they say point and the opposition go more. Their whole mouths go like more.
Order.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
All right, so that was a skip for all of us. So far, we're right on the money, right?
Yeah.
I assume that's going to change, but it's probably going to change right here. So, Spit is up next. Paul and Gene co-write, and so for me, boy, did y'all ever see the outtakes from Unplugged where they did Spit acoustically? So good, so good. We'll have to throw a clip of that in here. So good.
That you're gonna let us have.
Yeah, they actually,
Order.
So Spit has to me a really, really cool riff, and the song is incredibly busy. It's all over the place. There's a lot going on in that riff, and I thought, well, this is something that they've never rehearsed. They're never gonna play, and they break it out and play 3/4 of the song at MTV Unplugged when they were doing a set change. I think they were changing over to bring the small orchestra in for Every Time I Look at You, and while they were doing that, they were taking like band or audience requests and stuff, and they play Spit, which is pretty amazing to hear something like that acoustically. That's also where they do the country version of God of Thunder that I'm sure you have probably seen, and that sort of it's in that whole thing. But Spit. Ridiculous lyrics, but man, it is, it's kind of, I don't know, Nicholas Fat Bottom Girly kind of, that kind of attitude to me. And I love the Gene and Paul back and forth on the vocals and stuff.
It's like Fat Bottom Girls without all the craft and good
Whatever.
songwriting.
So, but anyway, Spit. I know a lot of people don't like it, but it's a play for me. I love the song. I think it's fun, and I don't take it too seriously, and I enjoy it. So, all right, destroy it, guys.
Yeah, not good for me at all. It's a bummer that Gene and Paul trade vocals on this one, and yeah, just a weird. And I was listening to the record today. Is this the one where Bruce breaks out the Star Spangled Banner guitars? The whole thing is so ridiculously bad. It's really bad. I don't know, like who would ever hear that and go, yeah, that sounds, because again, that's another point where it takes forever to get to the next part of the Star Spangled Banner. It's just not good. I think this is a terrible song lyrically. I think the Gene vocal is really bad. The whole scat thing is almost like that's another part of the song where something should be happening. Even Gene instinctively knows it and just puts in some scat, and it's just not good.
I'm the scat man.
Wow, this is bad.
Oh wow! So, like your least favorite song in the Kiss catalog, or close?
Oh well, no, but it's bad. It's not good. I would have honestly, if there's 11 songs on this record, I probably would have shit canned this one.
All right.
With the 12, there, including Car Jam. So.
Well, this is a weird one. I had really bad memories of this one, and I had bad memories of the vocals. But listening to it, I had it up loud in the car as well. And it's like some amazing dynamics. I think I just sort of noted down that just sort of really that and it goes into that soft bit, and yeah, he does that bit of scat stuff over the top. But I I really liked the two vocals trading off each other. It's almost like they did a year earlier on God Gave Rock and Roll to You, but it's actually really nice. And Paul's vocal, like I wrote down, just noted Paul's vocals. Like his vocals are so strong around this time, like vocally. He's just got a powerhouse. And I don't like the lyrics that much on this, and that Spinal Tap one, the bigger the cushion, the better the pushing one. But yeah, that is ridiculous. But in terms of if you actually listen to them go, Gene line, Paul line, Gene line, Paul line, it's like Paul's almost trying to outdo Gene in the singing department, which he does, but it's like he rises to this real power of singing. But yeah, so this one, I thought it was going to be a skip, but I listened to it 2 or 3 times for this episode, and I actually go, I don't know, it's a bit silly, but I actually quite liked it. The scat things is weird, because when I take my dog for a walk, when she'd stop at the thing, I would always say a good girl, like that, and now I just say a good girl, and then it does that, and it does that in the song, so it always makes me like a good girl. But yeah, written by, and was this written by Simmons, Stanley, and Scott Van Zandt? Or
yeah, Scott Van Zandt.
He was in the E Street Band, Stephen Van Zandt.
Stephen Van Zandt's less successful cousin.
Yes, exactly. Who spells his name differently? I don't know who Scott Van Zandt is.
Okay, you go to Springsteen. You go to Kiss. Oh man!
But yes, this is a play, but it surprised me that it was a play, because I always thought I hated this song. So yeah,
I always knew that I hated this song,
and this confirmed it.
Yeah.
Oh, so you were this critical and shitty on life in '92, huh?
Oh yeah, from the get go.
No,
but what I will say is, in
born
'92,
like
I played this song in '92.
Of course you did. Yeah.
Now I look back at it and I'm like, yikes, that was bad.
That's what I was trying to get at. I mean, when you were listening to Revenge in '92, were you like, this is the worst shit I've ever heard, or were you just like,
no, I would have played this whole record through unabashedly in '92.
Right. Because it was so much of an improvement of what they've been doing for the last 3 or 4 years. It's like, fuck,
you're like,
finally Kiss it again,
It's like
well,
when your D- student brings home a C+, and you're like,
you celebrate.
Yes.
Driving down, put a sticker on your car or something.
Right.
I just remember a whole bunch of friends going, when they heard this album, going, "Oh, Kiss sounds good again." And there was something about it, just they sounded.
But see, so that's in Australia.
A good girl.
Yeah, that's in Australia though, where their popularity absolutely waned, and you just basically completely stopped listening to them. But Joe, you probably listened to Kiss all the way through the '80s, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So when we say
Crazy Nights was a minor hit, but yeah.
Right. So when we say though this was a vast improvement, do you remember realizing that back then? Do you remember saying, "Oh, Hot in the Shade was a shitty record"?
No.
Were you thinking
Hot in the Shade? I know I actively didn't like. I remember. See, I would never go God, I hate this record, I would just stop listening to it and move on to something else because I was consuming so much music at the time. I would just find myself not playing it anymore.
Got
and
it.
when Revenge comes along, I'm playing it all the time. So now I can look back at that and go, oh, there was a reason why.
That's
I
why.
didn't really have the way to verbalize it back then, but I just voted with my ears and threw it to the side, you know?
See, that's why I think my take on all of these things are very different than your take. Definitely, Nicholas, yours, because you basically stopped listening to the band for a period of time. But, you know, with Joe, who's someone
They
who
just weren't that big. They just weren't that big.
Right,
you know?
right. That's my point. For someone who continually listened to them, all of those records were always on repeat for me. So it didn't matter, looking back now, if I'm trying to be critical of the record now, whatever it is, Asylum or Crazy Nights or how silly, I still played those records front to back, nonstop, when they were big.
I did too, though. I did the same thing, but I think I don't know. I'm trying to be more objective at this stuff this stuff now and go, is it really good? Like, is it Led Zeppelin? Is it timeless? Is it good, or is it I have fun, nostalgic feelings for it?
See, and that's what I can't separate myself from. I realize how ridiculous a song like, you know, Boomerang is. Well, Boomerang is a bad example because I don't really. If I was going to skip something, that was going to be one I would skip. But I realized how ridiculous some of these songs sound. But I was so wrapped up in them in my teens that I have a hard time just saying, nah, I don't listen to that. Because I still do listen to them.
Yeah.
Even if it's just for nostalgic reasons. I still listen to the songs. You know?
Nicholas, do you listen to Kiss a lot, Nicholas?
Yeah.
No.
A lot of the classic albums, all the time, but nothing, none of the other stuff that often,
Yeah.
Do you listen to Kiss a lot, Joe?
I sort of duck in and out, to be honest. It's not really all that often. I know these records so well at this point. It's like family members that I haven't seen for a while.
Sure.
You know exactly what you're going to get when you hang out with them again. There's really not anything different about them. I don't know. I burned these records to the ground. When I listened to these records, I listened to them all the time. But then I just got into some other things. And it's not like I can't put any of this stuff on and sing right along with all this stuff now. I just don't actively put it on all that often.
I get it.
I had to go back in, and of course I know all these songs, but I had to go in and click each one and go, oh, that's what that was, and that's what that was, kind of a thing.
Yeah, see, I don't have to. I did not re-listen to this record in preparation for this episode, and I know you guys did, because I still listen to Kiss, if not every day, almost every day, and maybe not albums back front to back anymore because I keep a Spotify playlist, but it has every track in the catalog on it except for Nothing Can Keep Me From You, and I finally found my way. Other than that, all of those songs are in there, and I hear them at some point in time throughout the year. So you were going to ask a question, Nicholas, and I interrupted you.
No. I was just going to say, I only just thought of this just then while you said that about our different experiences. But I actually wonder if this album hadn't came out with, well, probably, God Gave Rock and Roll to You piquing my interest. That middle section of the video where it shows all the classic little clips of the band as well. If that hadn't piqued my interest at the time, I may not actually be here as a Kiss fan. I think perhaps this cool album that came out actually made me then go back and discover a lot of the older albums. I think I do remember I even remember his name. He was a Samoan kid called Rino Amachuani. I have no idea where he is now. And he played the Crazy Nights album because we were still all listening to metal and stuff. And I remember almost thinking in my mind, not for me. And when I saw bands in magazines, it was just, Kiss looked like 4 shares, like they all had that same curly black haircut. And I remember, let's put the X in Sex on TV, and it just was like, yeah, it's all right, So I think I would have just gone, yeah, Kiss not. If they'd have continued with that kind of 80s stuff, I would have gone, yeah, Kiss not for me. I wouldn't have gone back and discovered it. So I think this coolness that they suddenly discovered, and Gene doing Unholy, made me go, ooh, what's Kiss about? And going back and discovering the old stuff again.
So for sure, Vinnie Vincent saved Kiss for Nicholas.
For me, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Twice.
three tracks of his, yes.
Yeah.
Well, you credit Unholy for making
Yes.
you go sitting up and going.
Yeah, well, actually, I really credit God Gave Rock and Roll
Right,
to you
right.
and Bill and Ted's and stuff like that. It was the
Right.
pop culture aspect. It grabbed my attention.
It was almost like
Yeah.
Kiss needed to realize that they were cool again.
Sure.
They went through this thing where the makeup became uncool around the world, and so they jettisoned that. I think they still looked kind of street and cool and Lick It Up, the Lick It Up era. Animalized, they start to get lost. Asylum, they're way lost. Crazy Nights, they're lost. Like, that's lost. And then
Bon
they go,
Jovi.
you know, then Hot in the Shade comes back around, and they go, damn it, we're Kiss. We need a huge stage show. We need to go back and play these awesome old songs we haven't been playing live for a decade, or 6 or 7 years, whatever it's been at that point. And then they come out, and now they've got all the leather, and they look cool.
Right.
And I even thought it was cool that they had a blonde dude in the band. They were
Yep,
like,
I
this is
agree.
about the music. This isn't so much about the aesthetic anymore, you know?
That gate.
Well, I pulled this out, but I also pulled that out and go, that to me, like, I'm not saying that kind of still is dated probably right now, but at the time, I was like, whoa, Kiss, look at Gene
Fantastic.
Simmons. Like, it was like, I don't have to be embarrassed about that band. I wouldn't be embarrassed about that band, with
Paul-
my friends and what we listen to,
Paul and Gene's wigs are on point because they were ridiculous for Gene through the 80s, but he was on point there. And I love the centerfold spread in the CD booklet.
Mhm.
It's kind of got that red hue to it a little bit. And Eric with his blonde hair, it looks fucking cool, man. But, I think you're right. As discussed ad nauseum on every other podcast and, message board, absolutely Hot in the Shade was the catalyst for all of this, because they go back and they realize, man, we've got all of these great songs with an edge to them that we should be playing. And they're playing all of these cool songs again, like I Stole Your Love and all of that,
I Want
that
You.
stuff. I Want You, and then all of a sudden saying, well, maybe we should get back with Bob Ezrin. Maybe we should try to recapture some of that gold again. And that's, you build into Revenge then. So it was a good period.
But wasn't it? But as well, wasn't it that he suddenly got Gene back? Like, it's all
Sure.
he checked out his songs mostly throughout the '80s were, they were the
Sure.
filler basically. They were going to always be the B-sides. Paul carried the torch. Paul kept writing good songs,
Sure.
with help from his buddies, But Gene's songs, you always went, it's always going to be a bit, a couple of great ones, but they were mainly average. And all of a sudden on this one, it's like, Paul, Gene, they're like the Lennon McCartney in terms of they can both contribute something equally, to.
I don't
to
know what you're
this.
talking about. I don't know how Lonely Is the Hunter didn't save the band.
No.
I think Lonely is the Hunter is better than Spit. But we'll move on.
All right. Next one.
God gave
God
rock and roll
rock and
to
roll.
you. So
Two.
as we've talked about, definitely the reintroduction of the heaviness of the band and just being musical. It's a very musical song. This was originally an Argent song released in the early '70s, and the Christian band Petra covered it and kind of even more religious-fied it in '77, I believe. And then Kiss comes along, and it's still credited to Russ Ballard from Argent, but it's got a Stanley Simmons Ezrin co-writing it, because all three of these versions of this songs, the verses have been altered
Yeah, the lyrics
from
are
their original
different.
state.
Yeah.
The lyrics are different, but the chorus it stays the same.
Yeah, we'll drop a bit of the Argent one in here because it's actually good to listen to. Yeah.
Love your friend, love your neighbor, love your life and love your labor. No, it's never too late to change your mind. Don't step on snails, don't climb in trees. Love, live friendship, but please don't tease. It's never too late to change your mind. God gave rock and roll to you. Gave rock and roll to you. Put it in the soul of everyone.
But let's drop a bit of the Petra one in too, because most people aren't as familiar with that. But they were the first band to cover that song in '77. off the Come and Join Us album.
God gave rock and roll to you. Gave rock and roll to you. Put it in the soul of everyone.
You can learn to dance or you can be a square. You can let the music take you anywhere. But where will you be when the music's gone? You can learn to sing and you can play guitar. You can learn to rock, you can be a star. But where will you be when the music's gone?
And so anyway, I was a huge Petra fan in the 80s and 90s, Christian hard rock band. So, whose lead singer was second lead singer was from Head East. You remember Head East from the 70s? John Schlitt from Head East. Anyway, useless music trivia. God Gave Rock and Roll to You.
Emphasis on useless.
For me, I love God Gave Rock and Roll to You. I know a lot of people don't like the tune, but I love the song. I love the trade-off on the vocals. It's perfect, kind of shouted out loud era Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons trade-offs. I love the what are you laughing about?
It's shouted out loud without all the good songwriting and craft.
You're crazy. There's no way you can't think this is a good song. I don't believe you. I don't believe it. So anyway, love that Eric Carr has vocals on this in the breakdown. God Gave Rock and Roll who played for me.
Play for me too. I think it has its weaknesses. I think it's a little plotting. You could see it killing a show for sure, a live show. But it's sort of firmly taken its place in Kiss lore as the walking out of the arena after a Kiss show song.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, for a long time now they've been doing that. So, yeah, I dig it from a nostalgia standpoint. I don't know that it's a great song. But, yeah, okay. I'll play it.
Play it.
Tepid play.
Tepid play. All right, Nicholas.
Well,
You
obviously,
have to play.
obviously it's a play for me because this is the one that, I'm not going to go over the Bill and Ted thing again, but that this is the thing that, piqued my interest again. Looking back at it, as an adult, I was. You mentioned it was Petra, a Christian band. I was thinking, why did it? So God gave rock and roll to you. Why does God get all the credit for all the good stuff? Because God gave Ebola and cholera to you too. Put in the blood of everyone. I was thinking, but I had a little phone call with yes, I am the podcast resident atheist, but I had a little call with my good friend microbiologist Richard Dawkins, and he suggested perhaps it probably should be rock and roll evolved over many hundreds of thousands of years over a process of natural artificial selection. But that I don't know if that would have been as a snappier title, as a song. So anyway, but I love the song. Was this the first time Gene and Paul traded lead vocals in a song, or do they do that on I? They do it on I?
They do it and shout it out loud.
Oh, they do. A little bit. Yes, in shout out loud. Sorry, I was just thinking.
Not a little bit.
Verse wise. Oh no, they do, don't they? Because shout it out loud. They lead up to the chorus.
Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong. You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong.
Yeah, I sound like I don't know Kiss now. I forgot about
it's clearly.
Yeah.
That's why I said in my spot was it's very shouted out loudish because that's it's very that trade off vocals.
Yeah.
But they trade off vocals and spit.
Looks wise, they hadn't quite moved to the Revenge. Like watching the video, in my mind, they were in Revenge stuff, but. There's still a little throwback to the Crazy Night. And Paul still looked like Cher. Probably the most he looked like Cher.
Yeah.
Super curly hair. And
Gene's very much in his Hot in the Shade top garb.
Doesn't have a beard, does he yet? No.
Right, no.
Yeah.
So.
And the only thing I kept thinking about that video as well is it looked like a massive electrical hazard because they're like stomping in the water the whole time.
I guess we should mention that this was the first song that Eric Singer recorded with the band while Eric Carr was sick, but Eric did record the video. I'm sure everybody knows that, but anyway.
Well, there are rumors. Did we mention that on Hot in the Shade that Eric Singer played on Hot in the Shade on one track as well?
He says that's not true. He played on Paul's demos, and he doesn't think they made it to the album. But who knows? Because they used so much of the demo material. So play for you. Play for all of us.
Yep.
Tepid play for one.
Tepid play. Yep.
Domino.
Go, Jason.
Domino is probably, although a very popular song for the band, it seemed at the time, and they get a video on MTV, and it's heavily played in the show. Just above Tough Love, this is probably my next least favorite song on the record. I don't know why. I don't know if it got played out. I don't have any particular issues with the song. I think it's okay. I like it all right. I don't generally skip it when I play the record, but I would, for other songs on the album. I'm not going to say it's a skip for me. Tough Love is going to be my only quote-unquote skip for the most part on the record, I guess. But Domino would be a close second. I'm not a huge fan. It's a little plodding. It's a little boring. I like the pre-chorus a little bit, but just like you, I've never really thought about it or noticed it, Joe, but that the chorus it's spacious and there's nothing in it. It's Domino, so fine, Domino. There's just air in there that seems like it should be filled with something, but
it does have a little Bruce Kulick guitar-y sort of harmonic-y rough bits that kind of fill it, but yeah.
Yeah. I would say a tepid play for me, which is unusual.
Yeah. Yeah, I hate this song with a passion. I hate Domino. I think it's ridiculous. It might even be my least favorite song on the record. One of my I do not understand people's passion and like for this song. I don't understand why it was picked as a single. I think it's brutal. I think it's like Hot in the Shade bad Gene Simmons stuff. And we're talking about the engineering and the production on the record in general. This is one of those songs where when Bruce's leads come in, you're like, geez, where'd that come from? Like they are so hot and so amped up compared to the rest of the song. They seem kind of like spliced in. I think this is terrible, and I think the video is just ridiculous and deplorable. I mean, my God. It's like, this song is awful. How could we make it worse? I know. Let's make the shittiest music video ever made and marry it up with this piece of junk.
Tell us how you really feel.
Terrible. Gene Simmons sucking on a straw, driving down Sunset Boulevard in an open Cadillac. What a horrible fucking idea! Like, how can it get worse than that?
But I don't know if it's because I knew that he didn't really drive at the time, but you almost feel like he did. He's driving, and then the camera's deliberately moving past him, so it looks like he's going fast. You feel like he could go, like, taking his hand off the wheels, and
they had to put him in the passenger seat with the steering wheel and flip the film so somebody could drive.
Yeah, he's got like a plastic, and it kind of comes off like. Whoops, put that back on there.
They should have done that tracking shot where they back out, and it's on a flatbed truck.
It just doesn't feel like he's
It's not actually a car. It's just like a part of the hood and the windshield and part of a door, like the other side.
And I get obsessed by things in videos like that. I'm watching, kind of going, just take a sip of that drink. Like, he's constantly holding that thing with the straw, and he won't drink it. Drink it!
He's like,
drink it! So that's what he's doing. He's almost going close to it. Now, I'm not touching this thing.
Woo, is that bad?
But you know what's weird is he's in the performance part. I noticed while watching the video, Gene's not even there. It's just a three-piece band playing.
Yeah, because he's driving. He can't be in two places. He can't be in two places at one time.
They're bang on it exact, like, they're being exact to it. Yeah. Correct storyline, aren't they? Yeah. But Paul's playing Gene's bass at parts, but he's also playing his own guitar. So Paul switches between bass and guitar in the video, which is weird.
Paul's like, here I am doing everything again.
Yeah. You
Like-
son of a bitch.
This is just like the Jean Beauvoir era. Yes. Yeah. Where's Jean? I looked up this one, and it says he stole or borrowed the riff from Black and Blue, Nasty Nasty, which we'll play in here, and it's identical.
Yep.
You know, to the riff. And I always said this song's kind of like if I was like a sort of a posh king and you came in and played the jester played for me, and I'll allow it. You know, that's how I feel about Domino.
I would have been like,
yes.
the trap door would have opened, the alligators would have eaten the guy who wrote it.
Look, I almost feel like the video is awful, as you said, but the song itself, I go, I want the next song to start, but I won't forward through it. So and the unplugged version is really boring, considering the whole unplugged is very exciting. Most of unplugged's great, but Domino unplugged is, it's very sleepy. So yeah,
I think the song is sleepy as it is. I think it's very slow and plodding and boring and very uninspired.
Do you feel like it opens with that cool riff, but then because they don't, once you've heard it once, it just becomes dull. Like the intro, dun, 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 that when that comes in, that's. But then
it gets into this funk thing that just doesn't fit.
Yeah. And the only other thing I noted, which I always found strange, because I used to listen to another podcast called History Science Theatre, and those guys from Canada, and they, it's funny how different regions play different songs. Like I think we talked about, I said Australian radio would only ever play I Was Made for Loving You nowadays. That's about the only time you'd ever hear, because possibly Rock and Roll All Night, and never Beth, ever. But they would always talk about, it's like one of the ones that rock radio plays all the time, and they'd always mention Domino to this day in Canada. So it must have, I don't know if it did anything in Canada on the charts, but they always mention, I always go, Domino, what are you talking about? Because they say they still on rock radio play Domino, which is
not here.
Odd. And no, it's an odd choice for one that would last the test of time.
Did it get played? You played in Detroit radio, any, Joe? Do you remember?
Back in the day, it did, but not anymore.
I don't remember it getting much play here. I remember Unholy getting a lot of play here.
Let's get the song Domino a T-shirt that says "I'm huge in Canada."
Or like Barney says on How I Met Your Mother, Canada. Why do we even let you become a country? They're like, what?
Wasn't there a comedian who said Canada's like I think it was Robin Williams who said Canada's a loft over a really good party?
Well, my mum always told me, Graham, she said, well, Canadians are like Australians but without the personality. So I've just alienated all our Canadians. That was my mum, not me. That's what she said.
Sorry, John Hedges. Sorry, man.
Yeah, right into Kate Buckland at
All right, so we flipped the record over. Is that what we're doing? Flipping the record over?
Yeah. Well, I only had it on CD, so that would have sounded awful.
Yeah, I did back then too. And so the first track on side 2, what, Joe? What joke you're gonna make?
I was just gonna say flipping over the CD would have sounded like the end of the other side of the CD. Just please let me have some quiet after that.
I like the dynamics to this second side. It's like really quiet. It's like...
I played it for hours waiting for something to happen.
Yeah.
Heart of Chrome.
Heart of Chrome. This is our second Vinnie Vincent co-write? I believe it is. Yeah, second Vinnie Vincent co-write. I think this is a blistering song. I love it. Don't care if it's a silly cliche kind of line, Heart of Chrome or whatever. I think Paul's vocals are incredible on this song. Love the riff. I love the drum intro. The going up backwards of the toms and back down. I think that's killer idea. One of my favorite songs off the record, probably top 2 or 3 songs. An absolute play for me. I love it.
Agreed. Seconded. Whoa. Love it. Yeah, I think it's great. I even think that there's a cool another storytelling sort of quality to these lyrics
Yeah.
About this jilted lover kind of thing. To me, that's where some of the stuff can excel, when you're just talking about the raw sex part of things, or like the ridiculous "I tie you to the ring." You know what I mean? Like this, it's like enough already. But this whole thing about when you're writing about a relationship, or one that's fallen apart, or you've been stabbed in the back, I think it's a little bit of that fist pumping thing that you want from Kiss. Like it gives you that, that thought of revenge or whatever. I think it's pretty cool. Heart of Chrome, maybe not the greatest.
Right, that's what I was saying.
Maybe not
that's
the greatest turn of phrase there, but
right. But the idea of the song is pretty well written.
And I don't think Paul Stanley has ever sounded better. I think he finally hit his groove where he could do whatever he wanted to with his voice, and knew how to just sort of modulate it perfectly, and wasn't trying to go too high or too low. He just was super powerful on this record.
Right.
Killer.
Right. Well done. That's a play.
Play.
Nicholas.
This is another one that's sort of redeemed itself. Like this was one of the I put this in the same category. What was the one? I've even forgotten its name. It was so boring. Tough Love. I always put Heart of Chrome in the Tough Love sonically kind of category. But yeah, I listened to it the other day and I was going, Paul's vocals just were incredible. As you said, he just had it was like a master of different parts and the way he used his voice. So that kind of won me back over. And the only other, so I'm saying great, it's a play. The only line I didn't like, you taped our sexy conversations and sold them to the BBC. Something about sexy conversations sounds a bit. I'll fix that later, and then say I can't think of anything better. But it's
then he hears it on the record and he goes, "Shit, I forgot to fix that."
Yeah, it's like what type of conversation? Sexy conversations. It just sounds a bit. I don't know. There's something about those words that instantly jolted me out of the song and went. It just sounded wrong to me. But yeah, and then BBC. I don't know. Is he referring to anyone? Is he referring to Samantha Fox, or when he dated her? Like, is he why BBC? Maybe. Or is BBC just interesting because it would make you pay attention because it's
the British tabloids are so scandal laden, right? You would think that maybe that's better than saying the New York Post or
kind
something.
Kind of weird, but then BBC's the serious public broadcast.
Sure.
Now on BBC One, the news followed at 9:25 by Cannon.
So it's not sold to the News of the World or
BBC would get Paul Stanley's sexy conversations and go, "What are we supposed to do with this? We're a hard news organization."
Yes, exactly. Yeah. They're the ones who broadcast that Parliament you talk about.
That's right.
Yes.
Grenada was just invaded.
It's not my favourite. I wouldn't go, I've got to put this on any kind of playlist. But yeah, it did impress me after having not liked it for a while.
Yeah, I think it's one of the better songs on the record. So, I just think it's got a lot of cool attitude, Paul Stanley attitude in it.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a lot of vintage Paul Stanley, making love kind of attitude. So, all right, Thou Shalt Not. Gene song written with Jesse Damon, who was in Silent Rage, who he was producing at the time, I believe, in the late 80s. Yeah.
What type of band were they?
They were a quote-unquote hair band. Just like all of the House of Lords and all of those bands were. So,
yeah.
And Black and Blue. So, but Thou Shalt Not. I think this song, when we're just talking about the lineup of Gene songs, you've got songs that clearly are, they've got a lot of good Gene attitude in them, and then some that are just boring, like Domino kind of thing. I know a lot of people don't like the two latter Gene songs on this record, but I quite like Thou Shalt Not. I think what he's singing about. It's interesting now because he's kind of taken a 180-degree turn in his life about being anti-religion and anti-God, and that's kind of what this song is about. But now, the old man Gene is out there saying, let's pray to God and all this. It's interesting how that's turned. But
yeah, man, the closer you get to the end time, you're like, right. maybe I better rethink this whole thing.
But
just in case.
I don't know. I don't think this is a reaction to religion as such. He was more of a reaction to like those 1982 groups that picketed the band and were very, you guys are the devil music. It doesn't feel like he's having an attack on religion in general. It feels like it's just very much, evangelical preachers who are hypocritical, possibly.
People in power, generally speaking. Yeah.
So not so much religion as a whole.
Right. Gotcha. So, but
yes, my theological discussion.
So, I think this is a pretty well structured song. Definitely in the middle of the record. I enjoy this song, and I definitely play it.
I do too. I think this is what I listen to Kiss for. I listen to it for that sort of fist pumping, you're not going to tell me what to do, right. Fuck you attitude. And this has got that in spades. I mean, it's what it's about. And I think it's interesting when they cover this sort of this lyrical territory is when they're most successful. When they're not just writing about, sex and girls and, black lace panties and, all that other stuff.
Except for Nicholas's favorite in I. They missed the point. They missed the
right.
The Tony Robbins, written by Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
Right. I dig it. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
I think this is Gene's second best song on the record behind
I do too.
Mm.
Nicholas?
I sometimes think that Kiss use this kind of topic whenever their popularity is waning, like in Hate for Creatures and that they want us to go, the religious don't like us. It's like the religious like, we're never even thinking about again? Kiss at this Kiss, because all this it's just come out of nowhere. He said, we're all evil and we're the devil, and he's, he kind of going, really? Were they saying that about you in 1992? I don't even know if they knew you were around, but
yes, all over the news.
But it makes him sound cooler, like they're a bit Black Sabbath-y, kind of gives him that kind of vibe. I really like this song.
Without the songwriting and the craft.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. The whole, kiss the ring on his hand was a slightly weird one, because then you get into Pope territory, which is sort of not really. Anyway, I thought I don't think Gene does a lot of thinking about lyrics, so I'm sure that was just an extra thing thrown in. But I do laugh when you get the whole. Sometimes the "thou shalt not," it just makes me. It's like the whole song's in ye olde English, It's like it's the cousin of the street doth giveth, my lady, and the street doth giveth away. If thou should please, all that kind of.
Ye shan't not.
Ye
shan't not.
Shan't not. Every time thou look at you.
Ye shan't not. I know what I want.
God gaveth rock and roll. Yes, exactly.
Your hearteth of chrome. Yeah, right.
Yes.
Well,
it's a play because it's fun too. It's got a bit of cool to it. I like it. Yeah.
But definitely, man. In '82, for sure, that stuff was all over the news. In fact, there's plenty of clips. If you go on YouTube, there's plenty of clips. It was all over the news. And I remember that was the first time I saw them on the Creatures tour. I remember going, and it was picketed in Nashville. And I was, as a kid, 7-year-old kid, I was scared. I was like, what is going on? They were out there with signs and, I was like, don't worry about them, kind of thing. So it was kind of weird to be picketing a band that couldn't sell 1,500 tickets to any show at the time. Had no influence on anybody.
And the band, rather than ignore it, they used it to their advantage.
They did.
They would definitely mention it in those interviews.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah.
All right, so we get to the obligatory ballad on the record. So, they've been pretty successful with a few ballads in the '80s, and that was kind of the
forever attempt.
The formula back then was to put out a good power ballad. So, Every Time I Look at You, which, by the way, the solo is not played by Bruce.
He had a card game to go to.
He got a card game played by Dick Wagner. Again, Bob Ezrin brought in someone else to play the solo on. Bruce is plenty capable, so I wonder why that happened. I wonder if it was just kind of like, why don't we let Dick Wagner play on this one? I don't know, but
so it's kind of like you had one of the best drummers in Eric Carr, and he brought in Alan Schwartzberg to do I.
Right.
Like surely Eric could have attempted I, you know.
Right.
It's weird that he does that sometimes.
Right. So so every time I look at you,
Hey, bug.
you all right? Yeah. So
Yeah, no, it's a bug just flew past.
as ballads go in the Kiss catalog, I like this ballad. I'm not always a huge fan of Kiss ballads. I think Forever is a brilliant song. But, you know, Beth is neither here nor there for me, and a lot of those Nothing Can Keep Me From You and I Finally Found My Way are my least favorite songs in the catalog. But I quite like Every Time I Look at You. I think it's a well-crafted song. It's mushy. It's typical. But I was still into that back then. And I'm still into it now, but I was still into that back then. I dug ballads. And I think this is a well-written song. So I played this song.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the song, it's all right, I guess. It's okay, but I probably would have left it off the record. I would have just let this be a heavy rock record. Maybe find another killer song, the one you're talking about, Jason, or let's do one more really heavy killer track for this record, and let's leave that off, because this seems like, it's revenge. It's let's get back to what we used to be, and this kind of feels like sort of a weird, pimple on this record. It's just a weird thought, and I think I would have killed it. It's all right as a song. I don't think it's a great Kiss song, but yeah.
Do you think, Joe? Do you think if Forever hadn't have happened, the record before been a big hit, they wouldn't have been nervous to, we better try and get some of the, the popularity that thing got. If it had been like 3 or 4 albums earlier, they may not have even gone that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Paul spent many records trying to get back to the Forever formula, even bringing in Diane Warren at one point to write a track. Right?
Yeah, Nothing Can Keep Me From You.
Nothing
Terrible.
Which is brutally bad.
Terrible.
Yeah, I think he over and over again was trying to find that power ballad hit, and just could never find it. And I just think this is sappy and doesn't fit on the record. And look at that band all dressed in leather, then doing this song with an orchestra behind them, and I don't know, not for me. But I don't hate it as a song. I might not even skip it, but I just feel like on this record it feels like a kind of a weird wart on the record.
So,
yeah, I mean, I'd skip it. I mean, really, if I never heard it again, it would be fine. So,
all right. What do you think, Nicholas?
Yeah, I must think exactly the same as both of you in terms of what I mean. This is obviously the same era as Mr. Big, and Extreme having that huge hit with More Than Words and that. Yep. So obviously that it was it's bizarre that you always in your mind you always think of that era of music finishing, and then Nirvana and all that starting, but they kind of have quite a big overlap in some ways. Like you've got Extreme coming out with More Than Words almost around the same time as Smells Like Teen Spirit, and Pearl Jam had already had 10, so they were kind of all working around the same area. But yeah, I always feel like it's almost like they've gone, we're back and we're heavy and we're leather, and as you said, it's not a terrible song, but it just feels out of place on this album with their mission statement of where they were going with the rest of it. So I'd say it's a skip, but it's not a I hate it skip. It's just
doesn't belong.
Yeah.
I actually think it sounded better with the live instrument on the unplugged. Slightly better, Yeah,
I think the performance on the MTV Unplugged is pretty masterful of recreating that style of song. The way it was recorded live was pretty.
Yeah, and Paul's vocals that were at their peak, as with the "I Still Love You" is like phenomenal on that unplugged thing. Like his vocals are so good.
And think about how long it takes for this song to really get started. It's another one of these plodding. Gosh, there's a lot of empty space here with these sort of plaintive chords, and it's like, can you please just get on with it? Like let's get this thing going already,
Yeah.
Yep.
Next is
Paralyzed. I can feel Joe's hate through the screen. No, I'm kidding.
I just hate how I just hate it's not spelled with an S.
Yeah.
Because why spell it with a Z if you're going to spell paralysis with an S? So I don't understand. Anyway.
Go.
Paralyzed.
Paralyzed.
So I kind of lumped this one in with "Thou Shalt Not." Me personally, the second half of this record, I think, although not as good as a song as "Thou Shalt Not," I think "Paralyzed Berries" like Domino, and I think it's way better than "Spit." So the second half of the record for Gene to me is better. I enjoy Paralyzed. I do like kind of the mumbling underneath in the breakdown. I think that's kind of crafty. And if you listen to one of the South American versions of this record, that is actually extended. Can't remember if it's the Brazilian version or the Argentina version. Maybe it's the Argentina version. If you listen to that song is mixed differently, and it has a longer kind of mumble part underneath, and he says a few different things that they cut out on all of the other versions. But I like Paralyzed. I think it's a pretty cool song from Gene, and I play it.
I would probably say the same thing about Paralyzed as I did Every Time I Look at You, just from the standpoint of I think it still fits the mission statement of the record better. It just feels like kind of tacked on and kind of an outlier for me for some reason.
Well, I mean, you got to have filler, quote unquote filler on there somewhere, right? Every song can't be the cream of the crop.
Yeah, I just mean even like thematically, like it just feels like an outlier just in general on the whole record. It definitely is filler. It's fine. I mean, I guess I would very soft play on this one. I don't hate it, but yeah, not memorable at all. And honestly, this was the one that I needed to hear a couple of seconds of and go, oh, that's what that was.
Interesting.
The rest of the record, I didn't need any of that.
Nicholas?
Yeah, I mean, that's the that mumbling bit's interesting because again, every one of these songs, and it's the Bob Ezrin trick, is he'll throw something in there, which whether it's a breakdown in vocals or something cuts out to a nothing, and this one has that kind of middle bit. He's obviously, I mean, one of his skills is just to do little interesting sonic things, which just jolt you out of where you are within the song, so it doesn't seem like just all one flavor. Like and then that's my biggest criticism with Sonic Boom and Monster will eventually get to, is that they all seem like they're sonically all the same all the way through. There's nothing that does, and Ezrin will either stop you and bring you down, or as you said, he'll bring in something a bit too hot. Some of those things where you think that lead, like you mentioned, sounds too, but it is something which catches your attention each time. It's like, whoa, that's like, I almost took my head off that guitar bit. And it's obviously it's done deliberately. He likes bits which suddenly, kick you in the, if you're, you're like an athlete and you're suddenly getting weary of the song, he'll at least kick you in the butt to lift you back up for the last bit of the song. I mean, the lyrics are starting to move into the Carnival of Souls stuff,
For sure.
That whole don't see nothing in my eyes because I've been lobotomized, cold inside, anesthetized. It's lyrics of the time, but it's also, it's not particularly from Gene's normal lyrics,
Right.
Yeah.
But you
he
didn't
doesn't
say
sing about sex anymore, does he? On this, which is weird because that's what Gene's thing was,
Well, Domino is, I mean, that would be your closest, but most of the stuff, no, absolutely, way far. It's definitely not, I want to put my log in your fireplace brilliance. You didn't say skip or play?
Oh, play. Yeah, play, but not a fantastic play. Do you know what? Paralyzed, one of those ones which, if you listen to the album in whole, you go, great album, and it belongs there. But if I isolated this song by itself, I wouldn't be that impressed by it. So
gotcha.
Yeah, it's cool revenge sounding track. Yeah. Good. Yeah, play.
All right, so now we move to I Just Wanna, which is the last of the three Vinnie Vincent co-penned songs, and really the last kind of new track on the record. Starts out with a cool Paul Stanley intro, and definitely has that tongue-in-cheek I just want to kind of stuff. but it's an absolute direct ripoff of the
Eddie Cochran.
Eddie Cochran. Yeah, thank you. Go ahead. What song is that? What the hell's the
Summertime Blues.
Summertime Blues. So
I'm a gonna raise a fuss, I'm a gonna raise a holler about a working all summer just to try to earn a dollar.
absolute,
Yeah, that one.
absolute
Which-
ripoff of that. I don't know how they weren't sued. It blows my mind.
Well, Paul would have been aware of it as well because he's a huge Who fan, and Who had that in their set list for ages.
Yeah.
70s and stuff. So.
Oh, there's no way he didn't know about it. And of course, who wrote the riff? I don't know. Is that a Vinnie Vincent stealing, or is that Paul Stanley stealing, or what the deal is there?
I mean, the riff really isn't Summertime Blues because Summertime Blues goes da na 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 na, and this doesn't do that. It's just the vocal part really that he's stolen.
Right. Yeah. True.
It's
true.
Yeah. The guitar part's not Summertime Blues. It's
you're right.
That line, I got a body built for sin. That one.
Yeah. You're right.
I'm gonna raise a holler. I got a body built for sin. I'm gonna raise a holler. Da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na. Yeah, it's interchangeable, really.
Yeah, it really is. So, it's kind of a goofy song, but it was fun live. It's probably my least favorite Paul song on the record. That being said, I think all the Paul songs on the record are pretty stellar. So I would play this, but it's down towards just above Domino and Tough Love for me. So.
Yeah, see, I'm opposite of you, Jason. I feel like this is classic Kiss.
Oh yeah?
I feel like this is what I want Kiss to be. I think it's really good. I even think like the wordplay is interesting. It's just tongue in cheek enough, but not too overly, sex driven. It's like it's got all the innuendo that you want Kiss to have and all that. I think it's like this is perfect Kiss for me. So I love this song. Play it every time. Love it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Plus,
maybe I'm a bit burned on it too. I'm not sure. I heard it a lot back then. Listened to it a whole lot. It was on the live album. Saw it live many times.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just burned on it.
Plus another blistering Paul vocal. Holy moly! What a great vocal performance.
Yeah.
All right, Nicholas.
Yeah, this is a play for me as well. Yeah, it's like Joe said, it's classic Paul Stanley. It's almost it's allowed to have ridiculous lyrics because it's Paul Stanley. It's like at this point he can get away with it because,
he
this
almost
is what
takes.
I do. This is my job.
And he almost takes some of the ridiculous out of it because he is Paul Stanley. For some reason,
exactly.
it's like, well, that's of course what you expect, and for some reason, he makes it cool, and it's inexplicable. But he just, he has the ability to go, I'm a badass, and I'm going to sing about some bullshit, and you're going to love it, and you're like, all right, I'm totally on board for it,
Like if you think of it, any other singer in the whole world with God Gave Rock and Roll to You, even going back to that, would not be able to that. People, we've been given a gift. We've been given a road, and that road's name is rock and roll. Doing that, you kind of go. There's no one else. Like a lot of people could sing that, but you'd laugh at them. But you go, well, yeah, that's what Paul Stanley would say.
Yeah,
that's exactly what he says.
Goddamn right.
God damn it. He's
Yeah.
Paul Stanley.
I am in church with Paul going, yes, this is the church I belong to. Absolutely.
It's funny, we used to also do a funny thing when God Gave Rock and Roll to You faded out, we slowly start turning it up to hear the rest of that, he goes, well, I do, and you can push that thing right in just as it gets to the very last bit, you can actually hear the whole part of that. But yeah, no, this one's a definite play because it's just fun. I did like in the video how they had to put on screen the big word "fuck" just in case.
Yeah, right.
They got complaints in saying, "Can you take this off the air?" Because I think they said "fuck." But it's got that nice choir breakdown in the center of it, which is again, kind of the Bob Ezrin standard kind of track. You know, apparently Tommy Thayer sings backing vocals on this one, so
Yeah, I think
more future Kiss players on this. Yeah,
I think another hallmark of Ezrin produced songs is they become more urgent as the song goes on. They go up an octave, they go up a key, they speed up a little bit, and I think this is a perfect example of that. Like the last verse on this just seems like they hit the pedal, and the song really starts to rocket along at that point, it's sort of different from the whole rest of the record where there's all these dynamics. This one just is like a barreling train. I think, doesn't he say I'm like a runaway crazy train on the thing? Yeah. And that's what almost like this feels like. It feels like this crazy rocket ride kind of thing. It's really cool.
Straight out of that choir breakdown. It goes straight into that. Yeah, right. It almost does speed up. Yeah.
And it's like more urgent then. It's like he's really getting after it vocally then. I think it's great. Cool.
Awesome. So to close the record out, we've got a piece to honor Eric Carr that they included, which is from the Elder sessions before it became the Elder, when Ace and Eric were writing together, which I find odd. What I'm looking at here doesn't list Ace as a co-writer, but that's clearly what became Breakout, and it's clearly an Ace Frehley pen song, and with Eric, playing the drums, and it's got, his. They make a big deal out of it, saying it's his only known studio recording. But there's like, if you collect bootlegs, there's like 15 different takes of that, and him recording his drum solo every time. And they just pulled the best one that they had, and had Bruce come in and dub in some leads and stuff like that. It also says Bruce plays the bass on it. So, this was just that breakout riff.
Bruce plays the bass because who would have played the original bass, Ace, and they didn't want to pay him a cent. It's like remove everything that he touched, so they don't have to pay.
That's correct.
I would say delete him.
Yes, but it's just that kind of brief part of what became Breakout, which I think might have been originally intended to be called Heaven, but I may have that wrong. And then it's got Eric's drum solo that he wrote, back in '81 in it, and so skip or play. I mean, it's not really a song. It's cool to listen to a couple times if you're just trying to think about Eric Carr. I think it's unfair to kind of rate it either way, because you're listening to a drum solo essentially, and but I think it's cool, and I loved that they included it back then, and something needed to be included for Eric, and I think that was a nice gesture. So do I play it every now and then, but I don't really include it as a real song in my mind.
Yeah,
so
thoughtful and cool piece of history, but beyond that, there's not really much to say.
Correct. Yeah. So y'all just turn the CD off after?
No. For me, it's a 100% definite play. I absolutely love this song. It's so really, really, really good, and I thought it was just brilliant to actually have that little piece on the end.
I do too.
It's not a full song, but it's a killer riff. Great drums. I love when he goes into the kick drums, and then suddenly you're a drummer, Jason. Goes into the kick drums, but then he brings that ride cymbal over the top in that. Was really where he's just motoring along at that. Pairing that always gets me charged. I play that really loud in the car all the time. That's probably actually one of my most played tracks on this, because I just love when
Interesting.
It's very hard to drive slow when that double bass part comes in or that. So I really like it. Yeah, I mean, and although I do say, like, although Eric is brilliant, I must admit I sometimes watch on YouTube the version that Anton and Ace did, must have been around the early 90s, and Anton's middle section in Breakout is absolutely phenomenal. Like, and you kind of go, oh, I don't know, they're both such brilliant drummers, but Anton has some cool little fill bits which we'll drop in here on that version. Oh, yeah. which also made me go, wow, that guy's amazing too.
As much as I love Eric Carr, I would have loved Anton to have been the full-time drummer, because I love the drums on Dynasty and Unmasked. He's far superior drummer to all three of the drummers that have been in Kiss, including Eric Singer, who I'm a huge fan of. You know, Anton was just on a totally different level. I mean, the guy plays with Joe Bonamassa now. You know, a totally different level of musicianship than any member that's ever been in the band. I would have loved Anton to have been the full-time drummer.
If you believe Ace's book, didn't he was unofficially accepted as the new Kiss drummer for about 2 days until they rethought of how close a partying buddy of Ace's he was at the time, and they didn't want to start bringing in another Peter Criss situation in terms of personally and stuff.
I don't know.
And I don't even think he turned into a big drinker or drug taker, but I think that's what they were worried about at that point.
I mean, I don't know if there's any truth to that at all. I would be hard-pressed to think that they didn't consider him, considering he had just played on the last 2 albums.
Yeah.
I do know that his band that he was in with Holly Knight had just gotten signed, and you know, they were recording a record and trying to get that band off the ground. He says that he was more concentrated on that than wanting to be a replacement member in Kiss. That's what Anton says.
Yeah,
but Anton
also
did,
was fading.
Right, and Anton also didn't tell us that he had played on 2 records, you know, for 40 years as well. So, you know, who maybe he's just kind of towing the company line. I don't know, but I love Anton, absolutely. So, and his drumming on Breakout is unbelievable. So, anyway, but we digress. So overall, what do you think of Revenge? What do you give it on, let's say, a rating? 1 to 10. 1 to 5. 1 to 5. Joe, what do you rate it?
3.5.
3.5. Nicholas?
5.
5?
Yep, 5 out of 5. But if you were ring out of 10, I'd probably be in the 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 range. But
percentage-wise, how does that work? It's 100% on a 5-star scale, but it's an 80% on a 10-point scale?
No, I'd probably do a 9 out of 10, which you would have to do 4.5.
Yes, that's right.
Mathematically correct.
Yeah.
That's about where I'm leaning on it. About 4.5.
I'll say 4.5, yeah.
Yeah, 4.5 out of 5 is where I'm leaning, and it's really only because of Tough Love. And it's really only because the chorus of Tough Love. If we're getting down to it, if they would have done something different with the chorus of Tough Love, I'd have probably given that a whole album a 5 out of 5, because I love it for the most part, top to bottom. Definitely in my top 5 favorites.
If they had written lyrics to that one, you're like, was it called "Let Me Fill You Up" or something?
Do you let me feel you? Do you want to touch me now?
Same thing. No, I do not.
Let me fill you up.
I don't know. I can't remember. Well, I would know if you'd ever share it with us, but you know, it's clearly not. Order. Okay.
Order.
Order. No,
order. All right, that's Skipper Play Revenge, as Nicholas said earlier. Thanks for joining us. Comment below. Tell us what you think about Revenge, and if there's what tracks you skip or play. And you know, it's been so long since we recorded something that I forgot to talk about all of our plugs. So go to Facebook, go to iTunes, give us a good rating. Go to
that T-shirt guy.
Go to click T-shirt. Go to hell. Go whatever.
That's right.
So.
What do you mean it's been so long? We just literally had a couple of episodes in the last few weeks.
I wasn't supposed to say that.
Oh, you're talking about me.
Everybody's already turned it off.
Order.
Thanks for joining us, guys, and we will see you on the next one.
Hi, everybody. It's Gene Simmons, and you're not. This is Kiss My Collectibles podcast, but you know that.